Hi there, and welcome to the Live Vybrant Podcast, where we explore how to live with energy, purpose, and intention. I'm your host, Joshua Haag, a holistic lifestyle, performance, and success coach with a background in professional sports and 2 decades of coaching experience. Each week, I sit down with experts across a multitude of fields, including wellness, finance, and personal growth, to uncover practical strategies that will help you thrive in every area of life. Let's dive in and help you live your most vibrant life. I am so happy to have Dan Kleckner on today. He is the CEO of Kutting Edge Fitness out of the Seattle area, as well as Dan Kleckner's consulting for fitness businesses. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to chopping it up.
For those of you listening, the understanding of Dan is in the fitness business, there's a guy named Tom Plummer. He's kind of like the big dog. He's the OG, and that's with fitness business. So he's like the guy you reach out to for business consulting. Then came a gentleman, Vince Gabriel, phenomenal coach, phenomenal mentor. He's more marketing targeted, but still business coaching in his companies. And Dan is kind of the next in line in terms of he's really come to the forefront in, the fitness business realm of being able to help young and even experienced gym owners navigate the gray area that is trying to run a fitness business in the ever-changing world, both of clientele as well as our atmosphere and ecosystem. And he's done such a great job. So it's really cool to get to kind of break it down. Where are you at right now? Give us a little bit of your background. Give it just where the business is at. Give us the starting point here.
We've been open 10 years now. So we have 2 locations here in the Seattle area. We just opened up a 3rd location that's a little more of a satellite kind of sports performance location where we do youth sports performance. That kind of stemmed from having the right person in place to run that, but also my kids being at an age right now where they're in a bunch of sports and it's kind of fun to get that they want to work out and be in the mix. So it's been something I've been passionate about doing around here. We've always done youth performance training, but never under the umbrella of its own location and own thing. So that's something we've just started here in the last 6 months. Then we have our 2 adult locations in Seattle. And then I also had a gym in Montana for a while with a business partner, which was the thing I think that is interesting with the audience is that it was something that we purposely built up for 3 or 4 years to sell. So we ended up selling it to an employee. It was something that we wanted to build up from scratch and then sell it down the road. So I do have some experience selling a gym as well. And I think the important part with that was that it's a totally different demographic and area that we have here in Seattle. Like Montana is very rural, totally less affluent than Seattle. So what it gave me the chance to do was kind of test the systems we were running in Seattle in a totally different area and see if we could make it successful, which lucky enough we did. But I think a lot of speakers...
You sold it, so clearly you did.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people that talk sometimes, speakers and business guys talk about what works for them in their area and this worked in my gym and that kind of stuff. And I think all that's great. But I think at the end of the day, if you're going to successfully help gym owners and other people all over the country, you have to have concepts in place that can work anywhere and be able to be scalable and something that can be repeated in Butte, Montana or Seattle, Washington, that are 2 totally different areas. And so I'm a way more a big believer of kind of the concepts and stuff that go into the day-to-day business of a gym versus, hey, this worked for us in Seattle, you should try it in your area.
Awesome. And honestly, that's a great jumping off point. What are these concepts? So give us big buckets.
Yeah, I think so. I always share this slide that's kind of 6 different things. I tell people you can waste your time doing like a 70-page business plan, or you can just follow these 5 or 6 things and be successful that way and dumb it down a lot. But the first thing is, do you have the right concept in place? Like if you don't have the right concept in place, you're not going to go anywhere. And in today's market, my opinion, the concept for us is semi-private training. I think it's the most profitable business model you can be running in these training gyms. I think it differentiates you a lot. If you look at all the franchises, all the competitors that are coming in, 95% of them are in the group training space. Orange Theory, F45, Aries Boot Camp. We probably have 10 of those within 2 miles of us. So for me, the concept that is scalable and most profitable is a semi-private training. You can still obviously do some one-on-one training mixed in there, but more of the intimate community-driven gym where you're going to try to leverage maybe 200 members that are paying $350, $400 a month, and build that concept. And then from the concept, then, okay, how do we get leads in the door? What does our lead generation look like? Which obviously you said Vince is great on that kind of stuff, kind of specializes in the marketing, but really making sure your marketing matches the concept. Are you marketing more the fitness after 40 crowd, doing testimonials, having your clients kind of tell the story versus how some, young trainers tend to market where it's all about them and what they do and their nutrition and that kind of stuff, which honestly, the type of clientele we're trying to attack doesn't really care about. So that would be the next thing. Lead generation, from there, once we're getting leads in the door, how do we convert them into a trial process? I know some gyms do let's sell you on day one onto a membership. We're not really like that. We believe people should experience us before they sign up with us long term. So got to have some type of trial process in place. And then from the trial, then how do we convert them to a regular membership? Our goal is always to convert 60% of our trial members to a regular membership. And then from there, the last two things are: do you have a high enough average EFT or return per member per month, right? So if I have 150 members, ideally they're paying at least $350 a month for their average membership, average EFT. That's a big
what does
difference.
EFT stand for, quick?
Just electronic funds transfer. So just like their recurring membership, like what's coming out of their checking account each month, you're charging them $400 or whatever, whether they're on month to month or a 12-month membership. But I think that's a big differentiator because we can charge $350, $400 versus the Orange Theory F45 that's maybe charging 100 or 150. So you have to have that return per client pretty high. And then the last thing is, can you retain your clients, which I feel like for most people is the easier part. It's very easy when you're a trainer and you're training 20 people to retain all of them. As you scale and have multiple locations and you're trying to have hundreds of members at each location, retention becomes a little bit more challenging. But at the end of the day, that's a huge advantage over these other style of gyms too, is we should be able to retain 97% of our members each month. So max, let's say we have 100 members, we're not losing more than 3 members per month as far as retention goes. But yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
Lead, sales, retention. You do those 4 things and you have a high return per client, you're going to have a very successful gym.
Yeah. And now realistically, what do you think in terms of, you said small group, but what's the style of training that you're seeing as kind of the go-to in the ecosystem that we are in fitness? Because there's so much contradicting information out there right now. So with your experience in terms of multiple locations, multiple demographics from state to state to as well as gym to gym even, what's really sticking and why?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think there's people do that very differently. Even people that do semi-private and small group train it, could be running it totally differently. A lot of those people everybody's doing the same type of workout. I'm not a big believer in that. We still individualize a lot of stuff to the client. Most of our clients are 40 plus, coming in with different mobility issues or injuries, or coming from a PT, or maybe we work with a lot of golfers. Maybe they have very specific golf goals. Maybe they're training for a certain event, whatever it is. I would say ours is kind of a hybrid from the sense of, let's say we have 150 members. We don't write 150 individualized programs because that's going to take us hundreds of hours to do. But what we do is we have a certain amount of, like, let's say we got 5 or 6 kind of different templated workouts. We're working maybe one's for golf, one's for strength and conditioning, one's for fat loss, functional training, whatever bucket kind of the client falls into. And then from there, we can individualize that program based off their injury history, exercise history, how long have they been working out, that kind of stuff. So we definitely don't program our semi-private where everybody's doing the same workout. We don't necessarily write all 150 per people like a periodized, individualized program. It's kind of a hybrid in between that, where they're going to get a lot of individual attention. They're going to be doing a program that's unique to them and their goals. And we do semi-private with 4 people in at a time. Some people do 6. We've kind of found 4 is the hot spot where we can still kind of individualize it and make it feel more intimate and more training based. You get to 6, sometimes it feels more like a class. So we do 4
Amazing.
people. Everybody's on individualized programs. We use Bridge Athletic for our programming. Our coach will pull up the 4 people that are in. Their 4 programs will be on the iPad. We're facilitating that. And we may have 2 coaches at a time going with 8 people, but it's never more than 4 people per coach, tracking everything on the Bridge app programming wise.
Yeah.
So it is.
I looked into Bridge. It's very athletic prowess.
It is. Yeah, we had to kind of tweak some stuff to make it more adult friendly for us, but they have a huge database of stuff. It's pretty easy to build the templates, and it's very good for like plug and play stuff too. If we have somebody in that's like, can't do this today, my shoulder's bugging, let's swap out this exercise. It's pretty easy to do, which is great.
Amazing. Now, realistically, as you've been kind of diving into the consult, how long have you been consulting?
I've been doing that now pretty much as long as I've been doing the speaking stuff. So probably about 6-7 years.
Cool. And realistically, what have you started to step back and realize the biggest or lowest hanging fruit in terms of the people that you've been trying to help, their problems, as you talk to young gym owners or trainers trying to become gym owners, things like that? What, like when people kind of sit down with you to really consult, what are you noticing as the biggest flaws that you're seeing in the industry?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things with that, and I think that they're both, like you said, they're low hanging fruit, but they're also stuff that can sometimes take people time to be able to realize that they need to fix it. But the first part is like, you can't have the whole business relying upon you. So I always talk about working on the business versus working in the business. And I think gym owners, like if you're the person working in the business and you're training people 40, 45, 50 hours a week, in my opinion, you haven't really created a business. You've just created a job for yourself. And you're not really, you don't have time outside of that to be able to actually work on the business. So I'm a big believer as the business owner, and this can vary. Like some people, you can still train, 10, 15, 20 hours a week if you want to. I just did the training for so long. It's not like I don't like the training, but I've really enjoyed the business process as far as being able to understand like the marketing, the finances, training staff, that kind of stuff. It's just stuff that I really enjoy doing. So I don't train, near as much as I used to, but that also gives me time to be able to step back and work on the business. So whatever that number looks like, there still has to be time devoted in your week to be able to work on the business, and you can't be the main tactician of business. So I think that's the first thing. If you're trying to grow your business at all, you can't be the person that's the tactician and doing stuff and being the one in the business 24/7. The second thing is I think you really have to get gym owners to understand their numbers and what that looks like. Like I'm a big believer of, there's certain numbers that you should be tracking daily, monthly, weekly, and then reacting to those numbers. I feel like if you understand the numbers you should be looking at and you're reacting to those on, a weekly, daily basis, then running a business is pretty straightforward. Like, yeah, I say that a little tongue in cheek because obviously like managing staff and that kind of stuff can be challenging. But if you understand the numbers you should be looking at and what those numbers look like, it's pretty straightforward to see if your business is successful and what kind of stuff you need to improve on. So knowing the numbers and then being able to work on the business versus in the business, I think are the two biggest and easiest things to change with people that need to grow.
Give me a rundown of what those numbers are. Just the overall buckets that you find most important for a young gym owner.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a little bit of what we talked about with kind of that business plan slide is you got to know, obviously, how many leads am I generating? Like for us, we want to be generating somewhere between like 20 to 30 leads a month to make sure we're getting the right amount of people in the door. And then from there, how many of those leads am I converting into trials? So in an ideal world, I'm hopefully getting around, it depends on how the busier months and stuff, but at least like 10 trials a month. And then from there, am I converting at least 60 or 70% of those trials to regular members? So let's say I have 10 trials in for the month. Ideally, I'm converting 6 or 7 of those to regular memberships. And then on the back end of that, what's my retention? How many members am I losing per month? Like I said, should be around 3%. So if we have 100 members, we shouldn't be losing more than 3. So if you look at, if I signed up 6 new members this month and I lost 3, I just netted 3 new members. If they're paying $400 each, that means I just grew my receivable base, my monthly base, $1,200 for that month, which is pretty solid. Depending on where you're at in the business, sometimes you want to make that in the beginning, you want to make that number bigger. But if you're growing your receivable base and membership base by over $1,000 a month, you're going to be in a pretty good spot year in.
Right.
So
right. Great growth.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. Realistically, I can tell you the biggest turn for me was figuring out those numbers and like becoming the expert, obviously in my own business. And it's pretty cool as I've, started to look into different ventures and started to expand outside of just the fitness business. It's amazing how many of these little nuances kind of copy over to other industries.
Yeah.
Like business is business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you're consulting, whether you're a supplement brand, whether you're clothing, right? It's all basic level things.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point too, because I know a lot of other business owners in the area, and I learned that kind of early on too. I'm like, oh, all this stuff like kind of works with almost. I mean, if you're like a high level tech business or something, that's a little different. But for the most part, a lot of these concepts like work from in any type of business. So I think that's a good point that you brought up.
And now, realistically, it's been pretty controversial. As I've launched or am launching, right, this kind of the evolution of Heroic in terms of Vybrant. That's what this podcast is, the Live Vybrant Podcast. It's an auxiliary piece to that company. We're turning more product facing. So I'm going, supplements are the first part of it along with publications. And I'm diving into marketing and how I'm going to market. I have had an absolute awful time marketing in Los Angeles. Awful time. And other business owners, and it might just be LA, but other business owners that I've talked to have had a grueling time as well. Would you say, or would you majority of the either consultations that you do or your own businesses personally, are you using Facebook, Instagram ad spend? Is that your like flagship? That's what you're doing for marketing, or how do you work it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I've noticed that as well. Like in the last couple of years, I would say the marketing stuff has gotten more challenging because they used to be, I mean, 5 years ago, you could throw whatever you wanted on Facebook and get leads, and that was pretty easy. I think the biggest change we've had to make marketing wise the last couple of years is really diversifying our marketing and have a bunch of different stuff going. And kind of Vince gives a really good example of this. I think he calls it his 5 finger marketing glove. Like you got to have like three, four, five different things going on. So yes, we do a lot of Google ads, a lot of SEO stuff. We still do some Facebook ads, a lot of referral stuff, a lot of email marketing. We still do a lot of like grassroots stuff in the community here, like different events. We have several country clubs here that we work with where we go in and do TPI screens, get clients that way. So we're still out in the community trying to do some of the old school grassroots stuff. But I would say that's the most challenging thing about marketing. I wish it was like it was 5 years ago. It's like, I just got to do this one thing and then I'm going to kill it like lead wise. But unfortunately, you kind of always, and goes back to being able to look at your numbers and what's working and what's not working. Like you should be able to track leads from all these different things. Okay, this month I'm getting like 15 leads from SEO. Maybe I need to double down on that next month and keep going that route. Okay, that's not working anymore. Now I'm getting them from referrals, dump a referral campaign this month or whatever, but you kind of have to be diversifying it, look at a bunch of different buckets, figure out what's working, and then kind of navigate from there. But yeah, it's not as easy as it was
And
even like three
what would
years
your
ago.
5 buckets be? Just rattle them off in terms of what you're actually doing
I
for
think
your.
number one is you have to have a good website with SEO, and I that's something I've changed drastically in the last couple of years too. Is like I used to think with all of our marketing, like I was the one that needed to like build the lead pages and the website, and I'm glad I did that because I understand it all now. But there's a great book, Who Not How, where it's all about finding your who, which is the person that can do the stuff and free up your time and do it better than you. So like we have a company that runs our website, runs our SEO. I think that's huge. I think you have to have that. They can also then toggle with us back and forth between Google ads and Facebook ads, depending on what they're seeing from the numbers of what's working. Now, I still oversee those ads and make sure they look like they match our brand and our website's how we want it and that kind of stuff. But I think the website is the very basic thing. Like you got to have a good website with SEO on it. From there, I do think investing in probably depends on your area, but Google probably a little bit more than Facebook, but Google and or Facebook ads, I think, is a smart way to go, especially with our clientele where we're targeting mostly 35, 40 plus. And then from there, I think it's easy to have some type of internal referral campaign as well. All your members should understand like what happens if I refer a member, what do I get? How am I incentivized to refer somebody for a trial or a regular membership? And then I'm a big believer of just having some type of email marketing, like send 1 or 2 emails a month just to keep people engaged. And then outside of that, community partnerships. Like we have a lot of physical therapists that we work with in the area that will their clients will get done with PT and then they trust them to send them to us as the next step when they're done with their quote unquote visits or whatever. So I know I just listed off like 6 things, but I would say of those 6, even if you're not doing all 6, like at least pick two of those that you can get really good at, you know?
Exactly. Pick 1 or 2 and then start branching out. And I think a big understanding for young gym owners or just business owners is marketing is like a black hole in terms of money, right? You can spend a lot of money
Yeah.
and get very little return if you're not careful. So pick something, test it now. You might have a different thought, and I'm interested. I say 3 months. Test something for 3 months because realistically,
Yeah, I agree.
it takes time for it to kind of take in. We look at Facebook, Instagram for the algorithm to start to pick it up and fine tune. Then you really get like a month and a half to 2 months of really figuring out, can this work? Same thing with, written ad spend in terms of like paper, direct mail, things like that. Always 3 months at least, if not more. Yeah, as I've talked to people, and it's crazy. Not even fitness business. I have a guy in tech who has a tech company. I have 2 people in the entertainment industry. When I start kind of hammering them down of like, tell me about your business and what do you do for marketing and this, and they're just like, I don't know. So it's like
Yeah.
it's the base level principles. I think the marketing glove, like Vince says, is a wonderful kind of analogy for yourself and to understand diversification of it. What is your, at least currently, most effective marketing strategy?
I would say our website and SEO, and then off of that, the Google ads. I would say a majority of our website or majority of our leads we get are from either directly from our website or coming from those Google ads.
Totally. Just for someone to start to think about if they had to pick a bucket to throw in, that's what we would start with. And now you tossed around TPI. That's Titleist Performance Institute. Are you TPI certified?
I am, yeah. I've been
Because
with
you're a
them
pretty
for
big golf guy.
yeah, I golf a lot. I'm a member at a club here, so I try to utilize the membership and play a lot. That's actually, I always share that in my speaking stuff. That was actually kind of how I got into the fitness business stuff is I first started doing TPI, and then I linked up with Jason Glass, who's like the main fitness guy of TPI, and he was having a mentorship, and I went down to his mentorship in Canada, and that was kind of where we did like a deep dive into what are your dream big goals. He called them in your 5-10 year goals, your plan, and that's kind of when I figured out that I wanted to own my own gym. So not only has TPI been a big part of our business model down here, it's also been a huge part of my career, just linking up with Jason and going through his stuff and kind of catapulting me. He's the one that introduced me to Tom Plummer too. And kind of catapulting me into the fitness business stuff. But yeah, it's a great niche for us. We don't, it's not all we do down here, but it's a big part of what we do. There's a lot of golfers in this area, and it's a very easy thing to sell to golfers when you put them through a TPI screen of what golfers are very type A. So if you can tell them the different ways you're going to help them hit the ball farther and improve their body and let them play longer and injury free and all that kind of stuff, it's a pretty easy sell. So we've been pretty lucky because we were one of the very first people in this area to do the TPI stuff, and we built up a pretty good reputation in the golf community here. And actually, one of our locations we share with a instruction academy that has TrackMan bays in there, and there's 6 instructors that are doing lessons all day. And so yeah, we do a lot of the TPI and golf fitness stuff.
That's amazing. So and I have so many clients that are going to love this. Where is golf performance at right now? What's next? Tell me what you're teaching. What should they be thinking about? Give me the entry level of golf performance. This is exciting. I'll send this to my father.
No, I think it's good. I do think we're in a good place right now because fitness in the golf industry is way more mainstream than it's ever been. It started obviously 15 years ago with Tiger. He was the first one to be like, oh yeah, he's working out, he's actually doing stuff. So, but it's got more and more mainstream. Every time you watch any coverage of golf now, on any events, they're talking about the guys working out before and after and TPI and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like the recognition of people needing to work out for golf is probably the best it's ever been. People know that. The awesome thing about TPI is that I think it's such a deliverable way to break down for the client the different areas to work on. I think obviously not only because I'm certified with them, I'm just a big believer of how they do things and how they simplify things. So all of our golfers go through the TPI screen and we build the program from there. I'll say we probably see the same 90% of stuff in most people that need to hit the ball farther and get better at golf. They need better hip mobility. They need to be able to separate their upper body and lower body more and have a little bit better kinematic sequence as far as their hips firing first and then their torso and then their arms, and not just everything rotating as one. So that's a huge thing for power generation. And then we obviously just see a lot of weak links with just pelvic ability, where their pelvis is at impact position. How do they generate power from their hips and their pelvis from the ground up? It's a lot of the same stuff we see with everybody, but it is cool to have the screen of like, okay, these are the items that we need to attack right off the bat, as far as mobility and power and strength go. But yeah, I mean, it's hip mobility, it's being able to separate the upper body and the lower body, and it's teaching your clients how to be able to generate power from the ground up.
It's interesting as I speak to my father about it, and I'm going to throw him completely under the bus. He talks about the magic move, and it's changed. He's a scratch golfer now. He does really well, but he has worked most of his life on trying to, perfect the game. And he does, in his backswing, he starts to pick up that left heel, and he does a pretty extensive left heel pickup. And his point is, when you watch pros, some of them do it, some of them don't, but the amount of torso rotation that they can get, especially through thoracic spine, as they're coming back, yes, hip mobility, but when they're actually in their full backswing, the amount that they can rotate is very unnatural for the normal person. And we go back and forth. And I'm like, Dad, you're creating a compensation in your swing versus fixing the mobility problem. Like, I see it as the coach. He sees it as the practical player. And like, as the athlete, I get it. You're finding a solution in real time. It's just, it's a very cool to hear you say. And I'm like, yes, I'm not insane.
Yeah. And that's interesting because a lot of golfers go through that where they have different kind of band-aids that help them get extra mobility and that kind of stuff. And really that just depends on like how good of an athlete and how good your timing is. Some people can get away with that kind of stuff and still they'll be decent golfers when you put a little band-aid on some of that stuff. But, in an ideal world, you're letting your body do the mobility and the rotation. And you don't have to build as many of those band-aids that rely on timing, but some guys that rely on timing can still be good golfers.
If I call my dad an athlete on something that's going to be like published out into the world, I will never live it down. So I can't follow it up with, oh yeah, he's an athlete. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, he's a golf athlete. We'll put it that way.
Totally. Now, obviously big golfer, CEO, running multiple gyms here. Tell me about the other side of you. Tell me about something. And I love doing this because I've gotten some crazy conversations out of people. What makes you tick? Give me something.
Oh man. Well, my family's a huge thing. I mean, that's an obvious one, but like for me, gyms are great. Like having businesses is great. You want to make a certain amount of money. I think that's awesome. You got to have financial goals and stuff. But for me, the most important thing about the businesses is it creates more personal freedom as well to be able to not be tied to any physical hours. If I need to go to my kids' stuff, I need to take them to school. If I need to go coach, I coach a bunch of their teams, that kind of stuff. That's kind of what drives me to be able to be a better dad, be a better leader, and that kind of stuff is to be able to have the flexibility to spend a lot of time with my kids. I'm coaching my son just started tackle football for the first time last night. I'm
Ooh,
coaching all of his practices and stuff. And so for me, that's kind of stuff is really important. That's kind of what makes me tick as far as being motivated to make sure I'm in a position where I can continue to have the personal freedom of my time. And obviously there's still stuff I have to do every week. I can't just like not ever work, but like I can control and pick my spots when I'm putting in more time and when I'm stepping away and doing more stuff with kids and family and that kind of stuff. So that really makes me tick. And then I just am generally really interested in just how like businesses work. And then I got lucky because I'm like very interested in the numbers part. I think I know a lot of trainers aren't, but I'm like in any business, like I want to know how do you generate leads? How are the sales process works? Like I love reading books about
yep.
my wife and I are very funny because we'll go on vacation and we buy a pool and she just wants to read like some fiction book and could care less about what is like I can't read for fun to save my life. It's not fun for me at all, but like I love reading about marketing and leadership and business and how to be a better dad and all that kind of stuff. Like I could read about that kind of stuff all day. Couldn't read about like a fiction story to save my life. It bores the heck out of me.
Me
But
too.
that kind of stuff really ignites me too. Like how do I grow? How do I get better? Luckily, I have a spouse that supports that stuff as well. That is always checking in with me on my goals and growth and that kind of stuff. So I think that is very important for me as well. And then I'd say the only thing really kind of funny and crazy, I think probably most people wouldn't know that, and I think you are very similar to this, is I was a kicker in college for football, and I had several NFL tryouts, and I was very close to getting to the NFL and not even running a business. So that was kind of that was something
Love
that
it.
I played arena football for a long time, had a couple NFL tryouts kicking wise, really went all in on that before I dove into the business side of things. So I would say that's something people definitely don't know, that I was very passionate pursuing a career in the NFL before I started the
It's
business
amazing.
route.
And then why?
Yeah.
So like as a kicker, then turning towards golf. Interesting pairing there.
It's actually an easy transition. I think that's why, and like I'm not like an amazing golfer, but I'm pretty good. Like I'm a 4 or 5 handicap or whatever it is. But a lot of stuff from kicking translates to golf. You have to have good balance, good core strength, good hip mobility. You got to have mentally be able to kind of flush stuff out like you would if you're kicking, and focus solely on one thing. So actually, I think the kicking actually really helped me because my dad had me golf when I was little and stuff and kind of learned the game, but I was never like super into it. And then I got into it a lot once I started training clients for it and stuff after college, after I got done playing football and stuff. And it was fairly easy for me to pick up like the power and body side of stuff. It just I think because of the kicking, a lot of the stuff actually translated, which was interesting.
It makes a lot of sense, honestly, as I kind of sit and think about it. Even more so, just the headspace side of things, the ability to just brush something off, move on. You miss one, move on to the second shot. Interesting.
Yep.
What do you think in your journey of all of this? What do you think have been the biggest hurdles that you've faced in either business or family?
Yeah, it's good. Well, one interesting hurdle that a lot of people don't know, business wise for me, is my brother and I opened up the gym together to start. And we had to realize a couple years. So my brother and I were both training at a gym here in Seattle, and we were like, "Oh, it'd be really cool to open up our own space." I went through Jason's mentorship, got linked up with Tom. We opened up our first location. It was great for the first like 2 years, and then we kind of realized like two things. One, it's kind of hard to figure out like who's steering the ship, who's in charge of what, and then also like financially, how do we continue to be able to have two owners' salaries and both be able to make what we want to make and that kind of stuff. And Tom's funny, as you know. Tom is very blunt, and Tom warned me from day one that partnerships don't work, even if it's with your brother. And I did learn that off. But what I will say, to our credit, what kind of saved us is that we did realize like 2, 3 years in that we got to make a change here. Somebody's got to take it over. So I took over all the day-to-day stuff. My brother actually ended up going doing something totally different in a totally different field, which he's very successful at now. And it honestly saved our relationship, because I think if we would have kept trying to make things work 5, 6, 10 years down the road, like we would have been fighting constantly, it would not have been good. And now we have an awesome relationship because we're not running a business together. And so that was a lesson that luckily we had help to learn from Tom and other guys, but that was a big lesson. Like, we thought we were going to do it all together. It was great. Family business, we're going to run it all together. And that was not going to work. So luckily for us, we figured it out pretty early on that we needed to not do that. Some other hard lessons I've had to learn is being underfunded from day one. I mean, like any other business owner, there was several months there, like to start, where we weren't paying ourselves. Like, we didn't have enough startup capital. We kind of had to learn the hard way. We were pretty lucky because we had a decent amount of clients to start from like other gyms we were training at and stuff, but still there was some very hard months in those first 12 months. Telling my wife, like, hey, I'm not taking a paycheck this month. Like, we gotta figure this out. Like, money's got to go to the business. And as the owner, you kind of got to be the leader, and you got to pay everybody else first, and then figure it out. So that was a hard lesson to learn. Luckily, we don't have to worry about that now. But the first year or two, I mean, there was a lot of hard times financially, being underfunded, not having enough capital to start up. So that's what I always advise all these clients I'm consulting on, is make sure you have plenty of capital, 12 months of runway to be losing money, to still be able to support yourself and what you need. So make sure you get enough funding from day one to start. So the relationship with my brother, the being underfunded, those were two, pretty challenging lessons we had to learn. And I would say the third one is just constantly, for me, trying to be a better leader, a better boss, a better owner, and just trying to figure out how to work with people. I would say, naturally, I feel like I'm pretty good at building relationships and working with people and connecting and stuff like that. But you always got to get better at it. Like, you're managing staff and employees. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons on how to handle staff and what to do and what not to do, and how to make sure that your people trust you and you're there for them, and building relationships and stuff. So that's not something you normally have to do as just a I mean, you do it with your clients, obviously, as a day-to-day trainer, but it's different when you're managing people and you have a staff and that kind of stuff. So I
It's
think learning
100% different with staff. Yeah.
yeah,
100% different.
learning how to be a better leader, a better manager, and then that stuff translates to being, a better dad, a better husband, that kind of stuff too. So I think just the lesson of continuing to grow and know that you don't have everything figured out, and you got to get better at stuff, and what do you need to improve on, and what does that look like? And like I said, I'm lucky because I genuinely do love to learn about that stuff now. So that's stuff that I think has been very important for me.
It makes it that much easier, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Tell me like a little bit about hiring. Opening the third gym, haven't done the other gym and sold it. I can't tell you how many people, perform better. People I've done consulting with, or at least started to talk to them about it. Myself personally, it has been brutal in terms of good quality workers, in terms of just lead flow for, staff. Tell me about your hiring, your protocols. What do you do? What's worked for you? Because obviously you're successful. So give me a little feedback there.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Staffing, obviously, I would say for most people, myself included at times, is the most challenging thing about owning a business. I will say one of the best analogies that I ever heard about staffing was from Rick Mayo, who was one of my business coaches for a long time, about ponds and rivers. And the way he looked at staffing was ponds that are calm and don't have a lot of ebb and flow in the water. Those are your people that you got to figure out, that are like the staple of your business. And you got to make sure that you do whatever you can to keep them. Those are your managers, or people that are in charge of sales and day-to-day client interactions, and the kind of your higher level employees. Those are the people that you just got to figure out a way to continue to have them grow and really feel appreciated, and make sure you're taking care of them and making sure that they want to be with you. And then the rivers analogy is there's always ebb and flow and different movement and current in the river, and those are the positions that sometimes you're going to lose people, and you just have to be able to have a plan in place to replace them. And sometimes that's, for us, that could be like, we do have some hourly trainers that don't end up working out with us long term. We know we're going to have to replace them eventually. And I love when people are like, yeah, we don't lose any staff, and that's great. But I've never seen a gym where you don't lose some trainers or lose some staff, and you just have to have, if those positions are not that you're okay with losing them, but you have to have a little bit more plan in place with those types of positions, where it's like, okay, we know there's probably going to be a little bit higher turn rate, a little higher turnover here. How do we replicate and get them in? For us, luckily with our semi-private model, like, we don't ever have any clients that are relying upon like one person. Like, they're working with a team of trainers. So if one trainer needs to leave or moves on, we can plug the next one in and plug them into that schedule, and not lose a lot of clients that way. So I think the ponds and river analogy is good, knowing that you're going to have some positions that do have some type of turnover and you're having to replace that, but then also having those steady rocks of your business that are your managers, kind of your go-to people, stuff that I can bounce ideas off of and bounce business stuff off of. Those people, do whatever we can to keep them. And I think the biggest part with hiring is recognizing who those people are. Within my business, who are the people that I want to be like my go-to steady managers that I need to take care of and make sure they're not, I mean, you want to take care of everybody, but you get what I'm saying as far
I
as
get
the
what you're
people that you're
saying
trying to
for
really
sure.
make sure that they're staying. And then just as far as actually hiring, we've got pretty lucky at the gym I had in Montana and the gym I have in Seattle. We had very good relationships with the universities here in the exercise science programs. And so we have a lot of interns that come and intern with us from the exercise science program. And we try to take the interns that we feel like, obviously no training, but I hire way more off personality and fit than I
Same.
do off training. I feel like we can teach them the training. I mean, that might be a little naive, but I feel like training's not so hard that you can't teach somebody how to train. So we hire way more off personality. How do they interact with people? Are they a good person? Are they a good fit as far as our culture and that kind of stuff? And luckily we have a lot of interns that we can come in and kind of weed them out, figure out which ones are good, which ones aren't working. But yeah, our hiring is way more off of personality and fit than it is actual, like, I don't really care. I mean, yeah, you have to have some baseline, but I don't really care if you have 10 certifications if you're not good at interacting with people and you don't have people skills.
And a lot of the times, the people with a bunch of certifications, it doesn't mean anything when it comes to the actual like knowledge base and training. I've seen so many,
Yeah, exactly.
book savvy people not have any idea how to operate a human body, just be lost. And it's
Yeah,
funny.
exactly.
I've sat in the new client or new trainer sessions, and I'm sitting there interviewing somebody, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just looking for good people. Like, I just want you to be a good person, to be
Yeah,
excited,
exactly.
to show
Yeah,
up,
exactly.
be honest. And everyone sits there and is like, what? And I'm like, yeah, training. I don't care about the training. So I'll teach you to be a good trainer. Yes.
Yep,
So it's pretty
exactly.
funny. I
Yeah, I'm
couldn't
on the
agree to
same
that
boat.
more. It's nice that you have the relationship to the colleges. They're a little more picky out here about who they create those relationships with. So I've had some trouble getting in terms of Los Angeles, but that's fantastic. That's an awesome pull to pull from.
It's challenging. We got a little lucky because the gym that I had in Montana, the college there was where I played football at, my business partner played football at, and we went through the exercise science program, so we knew everybody there. And then we just got in really early with one of the universities here in Seattle for the interns like 6 or 7 years ago, and then been able to continue that every year. So it can be challenging though. We definitely got a little bit lucky with that, but it's been a great hiring source for us to have those. And we have interns all year round too that are helping us with stuff, and we're not even paying them. They get school credit, so it's pretty
That's amazing
for everybody.
Free labor.
Free labor.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So as I kind of wind down the podcast, I always ask the same question. And it's one of those teaching moments where you might spark a thought in somebody or give an idea to that you don't even realize is kind of a cool opportunity. And the question is, what do you do each day to live more vibrant? So it's in your life, your family's lives, for your clients and gyms. What do you do each day to live more vibrant?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't even prep for this, man. You're putting me on the spot, but I like it. I would say, well, one thing I do in the morning that is how I start every single day is I always practice gratitude in the morning. And, that may seem a little like corny, little cliche, but I've been doing the 5-minute journal every day for, probably like 10 years. I always show this slide in my talks that I think I've done it like 2,800 days in a row or something like that, which is I think I have a little bit of like ADD and like organizational issues personally, but I've literally every day, that's what I do every day. When I wake up, I start off and it asks you, what are 3 things that you're grateful for today? So as corny as that is, I think it really helps me set my day and put me in the lens of gratitude and how I want to start my day and what kind of things I'm thankful for. So practicing gratitude is a huge thing for me. Do that every day. Obviously, being able to step away from the business and totally unplug and spend time with my wife and my kids, like doing something with them. I'm not on my phone. My phone's in my room. I'm going to their practices or to their games or whatever, and just making sure that I am truly present. So I think the gratitude, being present, is huge. Making sure that if I'm also very good at like dialing into what stuff I need to do. So if like I'm at work, I'm engaged, I'm working, I'm with my staff, I'm doing stuff I need done. If I'm at home, I'm at home. I'm not on my phone. If I need to answer emails, I am, but if I'm unplugging, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm being very engaged and present with them. So I think practicing gratitude, being present, and then just kind of really checking in with yourself on, where am I at as far as my growth and my goals, and am I in alignment with working towards those, and checking in with your spouse or whoever you're close with and talking about that kind of stuff, I think is very important, because I think it's very easy to get off track with that kind of stuff if you're not constantly taking like an inventory is the best way to put it. Like where every month I kind of reflect on different parts of my life as far as like, okay, how was I this month on my business or my family or spiritually or physically, like whatever stuff is important to you, what are your kind of your core values and stuff. And I think constantly, maybe not every day, but at least every month checking in of like, okay, what did I do well? What do I need to do better as far as those different areas? I'm a big fan of like just checking in areas of your life and kind of doing a self-reflection on where you're at and where you need to improve on.
Oh yeah. And just for those of you, who didn't quite understand, I love the gratitude. What is your actual process there? Just lay it out for me.
So the 5-minute journal is something that you used to write out, but you can do it on an app, and it has you certain questions you do each day. You do a little like kind of entry in the morning, entry in the evening. And the entry in the morning is what are 3 things that you're grateful for. So I fill that out every morning. Sometimes it might be the same thing I was grateful for yesterday. It could just be my family. It could be, oh, I got this business opportunity today, or I'm able to do this or whatever. But just list out 3 things that you're grateful for. Then it kind of boils it down to like, what are the 3 big things that you need to focus on for that? I think that's a big thing for business owners. Like you have a million different things on, but it's like, what are the 3 actual things today that I'm going to do that are actually going to move me forward in my career, my business, my life? And then there's a little reflection piece at the end of like, what were the 3 things I got done today and how can I improve those, tomorrow and that kind of stuff. So the reflection part of it
Amazing.
as well. But it just brings intention to your day. And then obviously starting with the gratitude just puts you in the right, I feel like, mind space and lens of like, okay, very grateful. This is what I got to get done today. This is what I'm reflecting on. So,
and is that you said it's an app? Is it called the 5-minute journal?
Yeah, 5-minute journal. Yep. I think I heard about it a long time ago on a podcast, and then I just got kind of hooked on it, and I was like, this is something I'm going to do every single day.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. You'd be so surprised some of the answers that I've gotten there, and it's cool to see what sparks people.
I bet. It's a great question. And it's even better when we don't have time to prepare for it and we have to kind of go off the cuff. So
yep,
it's good.
Yep. Well, listen, where can we find you? Give us your socials, as well as should gym owners or young trainers be listening, how do we reach out to you to get some consulting?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, I grew up kind of coming through the Thomas Plummer realm. That's who him and Rick Mayo were the guys that mentored me and would always hop on a call when I had questions about stuff. And so I'm trying to do that and pay that forward as well and do the same thing for up and coming gym owners. So my website, just my first name, last name, dankleckner.com, has a lot of videos, a lot of info on there. You can link with me on that. I'm on Instagram all the time. It's just dkleck, Kleck 12. Hit me up on there. I have a lot of business content, a lot of videos on there, but I would say either Instagram or that website. I'll always do a free consulting call with anybody that's interesting just to try to check it out, see if I can help you navigate, put a game plan in place. A lot of times what we do is just hop on a call, figure out action steps. What are the goal for the next month? All right, let's figure out these 3 things you're going to get done. Hop on a call in another 6 weeks. Go from there and just kind of really build a game plan of accountability as well. So Amazing. If I can help with any of that, I'm happy to help. Look at my website or Instagram and shoot me a message or an email, and I'm happy to chat.
Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for sitting down and for being a part of this. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad we got linked up on this. And people don't know you drug me into this when I saw you in Long Beach a couple weeks ago. So when we were both speaking at Perform Better, so I'm glad we could make this happen.
Hell yeah!
Shortly after that.
Hell yeah! All right, buddy. Well, we'll talk soon, and you have a great rest of your day. All right.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.